Hello again. Thank you for watching these, and hopefully it helps a little bit, my explanations. We left off, and we're going to pick up with 171.7.8 today.
The Master could discern saving faith in the gross superstition of the woman who sought healing by touching the hem of his garment. He was always ready and willing to stop a sermon or detain a multitude while he ministered to the needs of a single person, even to a little child. Great things happened not only because people had faith in Jesus, but also because Jesus had so much faith in them. Most of the really important things which Jesus said or did seemed to happen casually as he passed by. There was so little of the professional, the well-planned, or the premeditated in the Master's earthly ministry. He dispensed health and scattered happiness naturally and gracefully as he journeyed through life. It was literally true. He went about doing good. And it behooves the Master's followers in all ages to learn to minister as they pass by, to do unselfish good as they go about their daily duty.
So, these three paragraphs once again sum up what it means by as he passed by. We're called to be that kind of person, to not be in such a big hurry, to not be so professional, so well planned and premeditated that we don't recognize it's important to just walk through life receptive to the Spirit. Don't be afraid of, well, maybe I won't pick up the spiritual promptings. Maybe I won't know this. Maybe I won't this or I won't that. Stop. Just stop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, look, don't worry about that. Let the worry go. The worry is the Lord's. Your job as a disciple of Christ is to walk forward in faith, looking for the opportunities to help, to assist, to be there for others, to say a good and kind word. And if uncertain, if you've recognized the need, if uncertain whether you should, you can check in with the Spirit and say, should I do or say this? And the Spirit will confirm to you whether you should or shouldn't. So it's not that the Spirit came and said, you need to say something good to this person or do something good for this person. It's because you recognized that there was a need in this person, but you weren't sure if you should act. If you go about your life recognizing that need in others, recognizing that something is here that needs to be addressed, you can ask the Lord, should I address it in this way? Should I act? And the Spirit will tell you whether you should or shouldn't. Sometimes you shouldn't. There'll be a silence. Sometimes you should. And you'll just feel like, yeah, I should. It's right. And then you do. That's what I'm saying. Is what Christ did. He was willing to stop a sermon. He's willing to detain a multitude. He's willing for everything to come to a screeching halt in order for him to address the needs of one person. A child, even. That's what I'm saying. These great things happened most of the time because he was just in the way. And that's what he's calling us to do. To do unselfish good as we go about our daily duties. As my mission president always said, if in doubt, do good. If you're not sure what to do the best thing you think needs to be done. And don't worry about the rest. The Lord will never condemn you for doing good. If in doubt, do good. Let's continue.
8. Parable of the Pounds. They did not start from Jericho until near noon, since they sat up late the night before, while Jesus taught Zacchaeus and his family the gospel of the kingdom. About halfway up the ascending road to Bethany, the party paused for lunch while the multitude passed on to Jerusalem, not knowing that Jesus and the apostles were going to abide that night on the Mount of Olives. The parable of the pounds, unlike the parable of the talents, which was intended for all the disciples, was spoken more exclusively to the apostles and was largely based on the experience of Archelaus and his futile attempt to gain the rule of the kingdom of Judea. This is one of the few parables of the Master to be founded on an actual historic character. It was not strange that they should have had Archelaus in mind, inasmuch as the house of Zacchaeus in Jericho was very near the ornate palace of Archelaus, and his aqueduct ran along the road by which they had departed from Jericho. Said Jesus, "You think that the Son of Man goes up to Jerusalem to receive the kingdom, but I declare that you are doomed to disappointment. Do you not remember about a certain prince who went into a far country to receive for himself the kingdom? But even before he could return, the citizens of his province, who in their hearts had already rejected him, sent an embassy after him, saying, 'We will not have this man to reign over us.' As this king was rejected in the temporal rule, so is the Son of Man to be rejected in the spiritual rule. Again I declare that my kingdom is not of this world. But if the Son of Man had been accorded the spiritual rule of his people, he would have accepted such a kingdom of men's souls, and would have reigned over such a dominion of human hearts. Notwithstanding that they reject my spiritual rule over them, I will return again to receive from others such a kingdom of spirit as is now denied me. You will see the Son of Man rejected now, but in another age that which the children of Abraham now reject will be received and exalted."
Okay, that's powerful. Once again, every single paragraph seems to have something really packed in it as a reminder of its potential. Again, in this thing, even now, Christ said, he didn't say a physical rule, that the king, that he was rejected, he will be rejected in the spiritual rule. That Christ would be rejected for a spiritual rule of a kingdom of this world. So his kingdom was not of this world, but that he would have accepted a kingdom of men's souls and would have reigned over it in their hearts if it was a spiritual rule that they were seeking for. If the world at that time was ready for a spiritual rule, Christ would have accepted it and taken a position as a spiritual ruler of this world. But they didn't want it. They rejected him. They were seeking for a physical ruler, not a spiritual ruler, and not enough people wanted a spiritual ruler on this planet. They wanted something else, and even his apostles wanted a physical ruler, not a spiritual ruler of this world. And the rest of the people wanted him out of the way. So, but a time will come in another age, and we talk about this as the second coming, that Christ will receive and be exalted as a spiritual ruler of this planet. It will come, but once again, he won't come to save us from ourselves. He will come to be a spiritual ruler of the people because they will want it. They will beg and plead and ask for it. And until that comes, he will not come in his glory again. So don't be looking for that salvation of the physical realm. It won't happen. It's a spiritual kingdom that he seeks to imbue on this planet. And already he's building it in the hearts of all people.
And now, as the rejected nobleman of this parable, I would call before me my 12 servants, special stewards, and giving into each of your hands the sum of 1 pound, I would admonish each to heed well my instructions, that you trade diligently with your trust fund, while I am away, that you may have wherewith to justify your stewardship when I return, when a reckoning shall be required of you. And even if this rejected son should not return, another son will be sent to receive this kingdom, and this son will then send for all of you to receive your report of stewardship, and to be made glad by your gains. And when these stewards were subsequently called together for an accounting, The first came forward, saying, Lord, with your pound I have made 10 pounds more. And his master said to him, Well done, you are a good servant. Because you have proved faithful in this matter, I will give you authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Your pound left with me, Lord, has made 5 pounds. And the master said, I will accordingly make you ruler over 5 cities. And so on down through the others until the last of the servants, on being called to account, reported, Lord, behold, here is your pound, which I have kept safely done up in this napkin. And this I did because I feared you. I believed that you were unreasonable, seeing that you take up where you have not laid down, and that you seek to reap where you have not sown. Then said his Lord, You negligent and unfaithful servant, I will judge you out of your own mouth. You knew that I reap where I have apparently not sown. Therefore you knew this reckoning would be required of you. Knowing this, you should have at least given my money to the banker, that at my coming I might have had it with proper interest. And then said this ruler to those who stood by, Take the money from this slothful servant, and give it to him who has 10 pounds. And when they reminded the master that such a one already had 10 pounds, he said, To every one who has shall be given more, but from him who has not, even that which he has shall be taken away from him.
Okay. So we know about the parable of the 10 talents, or the talents. This is the parable of the pounds. And it was a different parable, but it had the same principle. He was calling his apostles to be fruitful, to grow the kingdom in their own way. And no one was thought less of except the one who was an unprofitable servant, who didn't actually do anything. The Lord invested so much already by giving you the pound. The Lord has already given us so much by giving us the kingdom of heaven in our hearts. That's the pound. What do we do with that pound in our hearts? Do we seek to grow it for His glory? Do we seek to give it to others? Just go out and give it away. Because as the Lord said, cast your bread upon the waters, and it will return unto you. That's could have been what could have been done. He could have given it to the banker, given it to anyone, and it would have returned in so many ways as an increase. That's what the Lord's calling. So from him who won't give, from him who has not, basically has not the ability to act upon what has been given, it'll be taken away. But everyone else will be blessed according to as much as they grow the kingdom of heaven around them and in the hearts of others.
And then the apostles sought to know the difference between the meaning of this parable and that of the former parable of the talents. But Jesus would only say, in answer to their many questions, Ponder well these words in your hearts while each of you finds out their true meaning. It was Nathanael who so well taught the meaning of these two parables in the after years, summing up his teachings in these conclusions. 1. Ability is the practical measure of life's opportunities. You will never be held responsible for the accomplishment of that which is beyond your abilities. 2. Faithfulness is the unerring measure of human trustworthiness. He who is faithful in little things is also likely to exhibit faithfulness in everything consistent with his endowments. 3. The master grants the lesser reward for lesser faithfulness when there is like opportunity. 4. He grants a like reward for like faithfulness when there is lesser opportunity.
Okay. So we'll end up with this, but the ability to practice or to do something is kind of hinging upon your abilities in the first place. If you're an introverted person, the Lord's not going to ask you to go out and be an extrovert. If you're an extrovert, He's not going to ask you to hold back. He's going to find in you your abilities and use them for His glory if you let Him. Faithfulness, it's that an unerring measure of human trustworthiness, meaning how trustworthy are you? How faithful are you to the Lord? And if you're faithful in little things, the Lord will give you more. If you're listening to the Spirit and hearkening to those little things and not missing them all the time, the Lord can give you trust in more. It's all about how much more you want. You want to be trusted by the Lord more? Then do trustful things with the little things, and then He'll give you more. The Master grants a lesser reward for lesser faithfulness, meaning if you're just not willing to hear the promptings of the Spirit, or to not be so busy in your life that you're missing everything, if you're not willing to just go forward in life trusting in the Lord, He'll give you less, because unto whom much is given, much is required. So unto whom less is given, less is required, and unto whom little is given, little is required. Remember that. If you want much, much is required. Also, He grants a like reward for the faithfulness when there is lesser opportunity. Meaning, if you've worked yourself hard to accomplish something and you have but little, the Lord is still mindful of that faithfulness. Meaning, remember what He said, if you bring but save one soul into the kingdom of heaven, how great is your reward with them in the kingdom of my Father. If you've worked your whole life and brought but one soul, that is sufficient, because you showed your faithfulness. In persistence of difficulty, you showed your faithfulness. So we'll stop right there. Thank you again for coming along with me and while we read this. Take care.